Hello, friends and family and fans of the Goshen Theater Drama Club. I'm Paul Regano. I know you're used to Amber starting these things, but we have a special episode this week of the Goshen Theater Drama Club Table Talks. Uh, Today, we will be talking with Amber. We are going to be putting her in the hot seat, asking her all sorts of fun questions. She looks ready. So without further ado, let's dive into episode 27 of the Goshen Theater Drama Club Table Talks. Wow, that was intense. As usual, I am joined by our wonderful friends, the Quarantine Queens, Katie Barnes. How are you doing, Katie?
Good. How are you, Paul?
You know, living life.
Mm-hmm.
Also, our guest panelist, Randa Meyer Henry. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Still great.
Yeah, okay. I wondered if it would change.
This is going extraordinarily well. Every time I have hosted one of these, it's been so clean. You just no rim. You can't see the seams on it at all. Finally, our special guest today, Kara Watanabe from Gifu, Japan. How you doing?
Good. Hello.
Always great to have you back, all three of you. And then, the woman of the hour, Miss Amber Burgess. Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Oh, living the dream, having a good week this week. We usually talk about like what kind of art stuff we've done over the week, and
We do. See, you're so good at this. This is what, just come back. Take your job back. What have people been doing this week?
Thursday of this week, I put a playlist on like I sometimes do, and as I was working on this fabric, which is its own art form, it's some wall tapestries that we're putting together here at the Goshen Theater to help our restoration. As I was pinning that, I was singing show tunes here in our beautiful ballroom.
I love that.
Yeah, I got to Back to Before from Ragtime, which is a song I haven't sung in 10 years. And it's not as good as I remember.
When you got that much fabric, you can really go into the deep cuts.
It's true.
Next week is Buffalo Nickel Inc. Randa, Katie, Akira, anything exciting in your lives artistically this past week?
No.
I did some singing. Yay.
Randa, I know for a fact that's not true. You made a very...
So yesterday, my roommate Krista and I made a fireplace out of cardboard and paper mache, and we cut out the center to fit a spare TV in it, and we're gonna be playing the fireplace via YouTube for the next month. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a sight. Akira, anything exciting for you?
I have a voice lesson tomorrow morning, so I practice a song. That's
Excellent.
on my week.
I love it. Preparation's important. I finished the score to a show I was writing. At least it had been written, but I finished putting it down on paper, which was nice for me. So as usual, we start our episodes with a hot take or an audience question before we dive into the meat and potatoes of the episode. So this week we have a viewer question. Getting ready to dive. And our viewer question this week is, when did you know that theater was what you wanted to do for your job? That you wanted to make money making art? And I will put that to Miss Katie first.
For as long as I could remember, this is what I wanted to do. If you know Gone with the Wind, you know the main character's name is Scarlet. I am named after said character. When I was little, I used to watch that movie with my mother, point to the screen and say, "Look, Mommy, it's me, it's me." So I literally have always wanted to do some form of acting. I didn't know how to start trying to make it my career until going into my senior year of high school. I attended the Missouri Fine Arts Academy in Springfield, Missouri, on the campus of MSU, where I ended up going to the BFA program there. And there I got to work with a lot of great professors and artists and started laying the seeds to get into a college program and went from there. So my entire life is the answer.
Excellent. Akira?
Yeah, I think as a job, I have like 3 times, like I want to commit as a job or I want to do like relate to theater as a hobby because it's so tough to make money and also audition is most of the time. On the stage is just like this much of my career. So I was like debating. So like entering to college is my first choice. Like, do I want to commit to theater or do I want to do something else, can make maybe more money? And then I picked the theater. And next time when I got the RBT job from Amber, that was my second time to decide I want to commit for theater or I want to get 9-to-5 job. Then last one was getting O1 visa, which is artist visa, so which allowed me to work in the United States as an artist. Otherwise, I can't work in the US. So that was my last time, like I have to commit it and I'm really doing theater job.
I love that. I love that they're like checkpoints, sort of, which I think is important in a person's life. Randa, when did you know?
Well, I guess so. When I was in 7th grade, my parents got divorced, and so my mom moved us far away from where we were. So I moved to a school where I had no friends, and I didn't know anybody. And I joined choir, and we sang as the ensemble for a production of Annie, which was cool. And then the very next year, we did a production of Guys and Dolls, and I played Sarah Brown. And after that, which is funny because Amber cast me as Adelaide about 10 years later. So
I have a theory that they're the same person under 2 sets of circumstances.
I think it would be a really cool production to have those 2 ladies switch off. I think it'd be really cool.
Just little foxes it.
Yes. Anyway, so that's when I like really caught the theater bug, and I can't really pinpoint a moment that I said I want to do this as my job. I just kind of did a lot of research and just made it my job, which I think is fine. So, yeah.
Just fell into it.
Well, I don't know about that. Did not fall. It was a lot of climbing.
Way to turn that analogy. Amber, I think I know yours, but I never tire of hearing it.
I didn't know, like, this is the thing. I knew that I wanted to do theater at a young age, but I don't know if I ever really thought about it being my job. When I first started college, I was a music education major and a theater major at the same time. So I had always thought about education as being part of my vocation or supporting young artists because it's something I had done since I was a freshman in high school. I was assistant conductor of our elementary and junior high orchestras all through high school. So I always knew that like that sort of mentorship thing was important to me. I just didn't know in what capacity. So in college, I was doing The Miracle Worker, playing Annie Sullivan, which is one of those roles that I feel absolutely blessed to have lived in. And a woman saw it who was from the surrounding community who ran a summer stock called the Dakota Prairie Regional Center for the Arts. She cast me as my first long-term professional job. Like it was a full like summer stock season from like June through like September. And like I had to be late to get back to school and all that whole summer stock thing. But at the end of this season, we did I Hate Hamlet and a a couple cabarets, and then Midsummer Night's Dream. And in Midsummer Night's Dream, I was cast opposite a guy who had been on Broadway, and he was equity, and obviously, and all of that. So I was a little nervous about it, but then I met him, and like we ended up being friends. We would go work out and then go get Dairy Queen afterwards every day. It's very fun. But he was like, hey, what are you doing with your life right now? And I was like, oh, I'm an education major, and I'm gonna, do this. And he's like, hey, so you do realize that you're 19 years old and a sophomore in college, and you're playing opposite somebody who's been on Broadway. And I was like, oh yeah, luck of the draw for me, I'm lucky. And he's like, no, like you were the only person that they thought could handle it out of the pool of people that they had. He's like, you're good enough at this that you could do this professionally. And I thought, I don't know. So I ended up transferring away from that college and then transferring over to Millikan, which is like a full-time BFA training program for theater. But before that point, I didn't really think of it happening for me in a way that I understood, like on the road where I was supposed to go. So like, it really did take a mentor to say, oh yeah, this is possible for you. And not only is it possible for you, you should do it. And like, people had been saying things like this to me. You guys know my Stephen Sondheim story, that like, if you want to do theater, you're doing theater. If you want to be an actor, you already are one. Like, if you are doing it, you are the thing. Like, there's no magic door that you walk through and suddenly everybody's like, an actor. So people have been saying versions of that to me my whole life, but it took that one person to say, hey, this is feasible. So you should try it. What do you got to lose, boy? That's
I love that.
Thank you.
I that was not the story I was expecting. I was expecting
carousel.
Yes, exactly. And I had something I was going to say about it, and now it's gone. But a beautiful story. I personally, like Katie, my whole life I knew that this is what I wanted to do, as in I knew that I wanted to be doing it. I didn't think about, like a lot of the stories here, I didn't think about if it was a job or how it made someone a living. I just thought, this is something I love and I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And it was not until probably my sophomore or junior year of college when I saw the people around me who were preparing to enter, and the seniors ahead of me preparing to enter the real world in the workforce, that I realized, like, oh, I'm training to do this professionally. Like, people are going to give me money and expect certain artistic things from me. And then there was another, kind of like what Akira was talking about, there was another checkpoint shortly after I entered the world of the theater industry. And I found out that more people would give me money if the art that I was making for them was playing piano of some kind. I always kind of thought that music was going to factor into how I made a living. Since high school, I had been doing stuff like that. But yeah, it was when I saw it in practice, and I said, I'm not making money as an actor. I'm acting, but I'm not really making a living. I'm making a living as a musician. And it's a hard thing to grapple with, because it's only slightly less job security as an actor than as a musician. Not to scare anybody away. It's an amazing life. Do it if you want to do it. So with that wrapped up, I think we can dive into the meat and potatoes of the episode. And we're going to ask Amber some questions about her life, about her work. I'm very excited to hear these questions, and even more excited to hear Amber's answers, which sounds like an advice column. So let's start with Miss Katie again. The floor is yours.
So Amber, you wear so many different hats within the theater industry, but you wear so many hats outside of the theater industry. What I love about you is that you are an artist of the world, for the world. And I know something that's really dear to your heart is your pageantry. And I would love to hear like what your platform is for your pageants and like what got you into them kind of thing.
That's so fun. So for those of you who don't know, I do pageants usually with my mom. It's a fun way, I think, to keep my skills honed. And it's something that I did when I was younger because I grew up in a place that didn't have a lot of performance opportunities, arts events. It was another way for me to sort of, keep my skills sharp. And the thing that I was learning in the periphery of wanting to do my talent and sing Rainbow Connection in a frog costume in front of people, true story. The thing that was happening in the periphery is that I was learning how to be good on camera. I was learning how to write a speech about a personal objective. I was learning how to interview. Like imagine me at 12 doing a panel-based interview with people who are scoring my ability to speak, and how that really like makes you good at being able to communicate, unlike that sentence I just said. But it does really hone those skills and makes you not afraid of it. And I think that that was an important thing to develop as a kid. So I did them as a kid. I did a little bit of the Miss America system. Normally I would win interview and or win talent. And then my swimsuit score, my evening gown score were not necessarily great, but like I wasn't in it for that anyway. I didn't want to spend a ton of money on a dress. I was more about the substantive things that had to do with it. But I paid for my entire freshman year of college at a private university with funds from those scholarships from just singing 2 minutes of opera, which is great. So that's sort of my pageantry heritage. And then a couple years ago, my mom, we kind of try to do bucket list stuff every once in a while. Like we were in the Disney Princess Half Marathon together, and that was right before she was diagnosed with cancer. So after her cancer treatment got done and she was officially in remission, I was like, we should do another one. So we started talking about it, and she said that like there weren't a lot of them that she wanted to do. I was like, Mom, do you want to like go to Sweden? Because that's like where our family's from. Do you want to like whatever? She's like, I don't want to be on an airplane. So that's a terrible impersonation of her. She's very gracious. So she basically said, like, all of mine seem really silly to me. And I was like, what's the silliest one? What do you want to do? And she said she'd never done a beauty pageant and she always wanted to do one. So we did one together. We went to nationals and like had a great time, but now we've got the bug. So pageantry is something that we do together. The benefits of it for me are that it keeps my creative juices flowing, that like, it's really hard as a skill to hone a 3-minute act. If you want to do a talent presentation, you need a 3-minute act that's really compelling. That is a skill that's hard to hone, and it's hard to find places, except for America's Got Talent, where you can do that. So pageantry gives me an opportunity for that. I honestly love the shallow stuff about it. I love putting on a pretty dress and walking around in it and smiling at people. Like, we don't do that anymore. There's no grand debutante ball where we all go and like, maybe I'll host one here in 2022 when everything's back to normal, but I love that stuff about it too. But I would advocate for it. Like there are pageants for every kind of person too. People talk about how it can be non-inclusive. Well, don't compete in the pageant systems that aren't inclusive. And the ones I do are very community service based, like literally that have charities that they work with where you raise money for those charities. Find one that works with a charity that you believe in. And like there's pageants for boys, there's pageants for transgender women, there's pageants for drag queens. There's lots of those. There's pageants that are geared toward like academics exclusively. There's one called Woman of Achievement where it's basically like they have a competition that's like a trade show where you put up a board that's about your community service involvement and how you are a leader in your field. My platform, because Katie asked, is about being an arts advocate. My whole life is about this, and anything that I present in pageantry, I present as an arts initiative. Like there's a competition pageant I have coming up called National Costume. My national costume is, I'm designing it. It's a big hoop skirt that I'm designing with a big long train that has Broadway on it. So I'm doing all these like appliques and paints of Broadway, because Broadway and musical theater are so close to my heart in the arts. And also it's part of our artistic culture as Americans. So like, that's an example. Yeah, people are going to wear American flags and like, I don't know, Indianapolis 500 or whatever. A hot dog costume probably is more appropriate. But like, I try to bring all of that stuff into every single piece of the competition. It's a really long answer, but it's a very involved thing. And it's a silly hobby for a 42-year-old woman to have. And I kind of love that too. Like, yeah, I think it's fun. It keeps me honed up in my skills. And yeah, it's good to lose. It's good to lose every once in a while. So that's pageants. Yay. Thanks, Katie.
That was a great question.
It's a lengthy answer.
I mean, it was appropriate. It warranted a lengthy answer. We're going to throw it over to Akira.
Okay. So my question is,
Hi.
you are so supportive. I just want to know why you are so supportive. Like you told me you were doing like support for artists since you were a freshman in high school. I didn't know that. But that's cool, but I didn't know that. And like, I'm just curious why you are so supportive to people like us.
Yeah, this might be actually kind of an emotional answer. So I didn't have any siblings, and I come from a one-parent household. My mom raised me basically on her own, to the point where my dad lived in a foreign country until I was 12. So it wasn't even like he wasn't around. Like you needed a passport to go see him. So he was in the Air Force, and he dedicated 20 years of his life to serving this country. So I don't ever like give him a grievance for being away when I was a kid. But so it was just me and my mom at home. And I love my mom, but she also had to work in order to, keep us fed and in a house and all that stuff. But I've always kind of been in search of that feeling of family. So when I was 9, I think, is the first time I volunteered for something. I would volunteer to pass out food trays at our local hospital. They had a program. So I would go there after school, because where else am I going to go? My mom's at work until 5. So I would go there. I'd pass out food trays or newspapers to the people who were in the hospital. They would talk to me. I would talk to them, and I would do that. And I found that was really great. I also worked for, like in my teenage years, there was a faith-based program about family structure, and it gave each individual cohort age group a coping strategy for how to communicate with your parents, how to communicate with your siblings, when you're mad, how to process those feelings. And as a 12 to 14-year-old kid, I was teaching 8 to 10-year-olds. So I did that. I was assistant conducting and teaching lessons and all of those things. And I think the reason is that I was always looking for that family. Well, now I'm a little bit older. I love the arts so much. I think that family can be found. Your artistic family, your urban family, those are things that you select and choose. And I choose to have the biggest artistic and urban family I possibly can. So I feel like the best way that I can do that is to support whatever art in the moment people need supported, one, and also to try to build that up. The other side of this coin, to be completely transparent, is that I'm never going to have children, right? So my legacy as a person is not going to be some other miniature, delightful, incredulous version of myself who would probably like buck the stereotype and become like a professional soccer player or some nonsense because she'd be like, I don't want to play the violin. But because I'm not ever going to have kids, I feel like it's important that I have a legacy and I make those ripples in people's lives in a way that my life is valuable in a different way than being a parent. So if I can support the art of someone else or their life or like make things easier, I'm going to do that. And I'm not always graceful. I'm not always right. I'm not always perfect. And like, I'm like, even in conversation, I get mad at people and like all this stuff. And I know that I haven't always been like the most gracious person, but it is my hope that on the whole, the good stuff that I've done creates a ripple in the world that's positive. And that is why I kind of strive for that. It's because I have a little family shaped hole in my heart, Akira, and I want to put an Akira in it. That's why.
I love that so much.
Oh,
Excellent. Okay, we're gonna go to Randa. Good
Um,
luck following that.
oh, so Amber, I met you as a casting director,
yep.
and I am going to. So, in any cattle call audition I've ever had, and in most rooms that I go into, casting directors are white men.
What?
So I would love to hear what casting from a female perspective is like, what it's like to be sitting with other people who are not of the same mindset necessarily as you. Just like kind of go through that for us.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So, first a story, a little audition story. I went to MWTA with Mike Fielder. You all know Mike, one of the people who resides in my heart always. He agreed to be a casting associate with me, and we got done with the day. And he's like, "Hey, can I tell you something?" And he's like, "I don't want it to be weird. I don't want you to take it the wrong way." I said, "Sure, sure, sure." And his story featured prominently also in Akira's episode. Uh, so he says, "I had a moment today where I think I kind of understand part of sexism in the theater." And I was like, yeah, what? He's like, "This is new to me and I feel weird about it." And he said, we were in a dance call and he realized that everybody past the stage line was women in the dance call, everybody. And that on the other side of the stage line was 3 rows of men in chairs and me. And he said, I can't fathom what that feels like to have 3 rows of men in chairs and you're a part of that group of people. And dance is such an intimate act. It's it exposes you in a way that's different than acting. Like when you're dancing, you're not using someone else's tools, you're using yourself. So there's all of these vulnerable women on one side of the room putting it out there, showing what they can do, and having the audacity as a woman to stand in front of people and say, "Hi, I'm me. This is what I do. I'm worth it. And I'm going to stand here and I'm going to be who I am. And you want to hire me for these reasons because I'm me." We're not allowed to do that most of the time. So, yeah, he was like, "I can't imagine what that feels like." And I thought, you know what? It's interesting to me that it would even occur to him, because at a certain point, it doesn't occur to me. And it's not that I don't experience that sexism, it's that I don't think of myself as a woman in the arts. And it doesn't become pertinent to me until that happens. So and it's kind of a nice filter, I'll be honest. When we would be in the casting room, and Ryan was a casting associate with me at one time, Paul has been a casting associate with me, and you guys know this. If someone walked into the room and addressed one of the men and handed their headshot to one of the men who was wearing a name tag that said assistant or associate casting director, and mine said artistic director, if they would hand that resume to that person and say, "Thank you so much for calling me back," that person was not going to work for me. Because the generalization that they made was that the person in leadership is obviously the man in the room. And I don't have time for that. I don't have time to negotiate with somebody to get them to do what I want. I did that my first year. There was a particular actor who wouldn't take notes from me because they thought they were right. And I had to get a man. I gave my notes to a gentleman and had that person give the notes. And they did everything that I wanted them to do when the man told them what to do. So I didn't want to do that again. So I use that as a little bit of a filter. It is women in the arts. They talk about how it's a problem of education. They talk about how it's a problem of women not being assertive enough. Women in theater are probably some of the most assertive women. Like, it's an oversaturated market of women in the first place. Female artists have the tenacity, like they have tenacity greater than almost any other field I have seen, because you have to grapple every single day and you have to resist the temptation of seeing every other woman in the room as an enemy. So you have to bond together with your friends and realize that only one of you is going to move forward and do it anyway. Like, So that's what I hear, that like there's a problem of education, there's a problem of tenacity, women don't ask. And that's a load. That is what I say to that. It's sexism. It is people promoting people that they trust. And on the whole, people in our culture still have a terrible syndrome of trusting tall, white guys. Don't even get me started. There are so many times when I've been up for a job with someone who had less qualification than I did, and that person got the job because they are a dude. And it's happened even recently. There have been things that have occurred where I go, okay, would you be saying this to someone who wasn't female? That's all. So yeah, it's challenging, it's hard, and you still have to negotiate those things. Like when someone says they don't like my personality, or the way that I like present a topic, they don't like the way that I'm doing it. I have to take the note and say, okay, I see where you're coming from. I'm not going to alienate our donors. I'm still going to be myself. But like, I take the note graciously, but I do understand that you're a jerk. So I'm going to do what you're saying, but yeah, you're a jerk, and that's okay. So that's also, yeah. I could write a dissertation on that one.
Oh, 3 great questions, 3 great answers. I love that. I think you like hit on it so perfectly when you said that the prevailing thought still revolves around, puts the responsibility on the woman to be more assertive, to be more, to ask the question more. When the audacity of someone who's in a position of power to make change say, well, the people who have no power aren't doing enough anyway.
Okay, so because this person doesn't watch the table talk, I'm sure, I'm going to speak freely about something. I had a discussion about a week ago with someone, and they had the same job that I had, working for the same boss that I had, and have a different gender than I do. We had a discussion about the way that we would deal with the same problem. And we laughed about the fact that the way I needed to work to get it done was very different than the way he needed to work to get it done. So if he had a problem with this individual, let's say they no longer wanted there to be red M&Ms at the concession stand, right? No red M&Ms. He would have walked into the office and said, this is a load of crap about the red M&Ms. You're being a jerk. Stop it. Like, we're going to have red M&Ms. I don't care what you say. If you don't want us to have red M&Ms, I will quit. Like, if it got to it, be like, I'll quit. I don't care. I don't care about your thing about red M&Ms. My shows have red M&Ms. So bye. That's how he would deal with that problem. I would deal with that problem by doing a little bit of detective work when I got called into a meeting, trying to find out from somebody through covert means, like, hey, do you know what the meeting is about? I heard something about M&Ms, and having them be like, I think he doesn't like the red M&Ms. I'd be like, okay. Doesn't like the red M&Ms. Okay, great. So that's how it would start. The strategy I would employ would be to do this, and then walk into the room and be like, hi, how are you? And he would say, oh, I've got this problem. And I was like, well, I'm going to make your day better. I just got an email from a patron. They said they loved the show last weekend, and you're not going to believe it, but that thing you did with the set where you put the flocking on that seahorse, they made a comment about that and said how great that was. Isn't that cool? Oh, the other thing, I know that like sometimes people don't like those red M&Ms, but like, you know, everybody largely likes red M&Ms, and you know, some people are red M&Ms. So it's really important for us to confab with people about red M&Ms and for the red M&Ms to be in the show. So I know that this meeting is not about red M&Ms. Obviously, you're an advocate for red M&Ms. So anyway, sorry, I got off topic. What do you want me to talk about? Yeah, that is how I would deal with all of those problems.
Oh, I could scream. I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, we laughed.
Women would start wars if they were the president.
Yeah. You're telling me that's not assertive? Me openly mocking you for something that you believe because I have figured out that that's what you believe. So stopping 10 steps in the chess game and checkmating you in one move, that's not, Yeah, it's clearly the problem that we're.
Amber's playing 4D chess over here.
As opposed to yelling at him for being ridiculous.
Yes.
Well, I
But
think it
that's-
also speaks to like women who stay in control when we want to rip our hair out kind of situation. Like we still stay tactful because it's still our job. You're still our boss, but it's still our job to tell you when you're not pulling your end.
Right.
And if we were to yell, we would be reprimanded.
Yep.
We do
Yes.
not have the same grace that a man would.
We're just overly emotional.
Oh.
And Katie, what you said was very telling. You were saying, they're still your boss. What I've also found is like even in situations when the person is not their superior, either their peer or their subordinate, it doesn't matter if a woman loses her temper, asserts herself anyway.
I had a subordinate tell me, like, and I had said something in passing about how sexism as a casting director and as an arts leader was an issue. And I was like, ugh, and I have this sort of, film of being a lady on my job. And this employee said to me, well, that's never been my experience, a man. That's never been my experience. I've worked with a lot of female leaders, and I think they're just as respected as men are. And I was like, oh, thank you for clearing that up.
Oh my.
Clearly I'm making it all up.
We need to do an episode. We need to devote an episode to this.
To gender bias? Yes.
Season 2, baby.
Yep.
All right, so I guess that leaves me and I feel like we're throwing some real hardball questions at you today, Amber. So I hope you're ready. Mine goes in a slightly different direction.
Oh no.
So I'm just gonna inflate your ego a little bit here because I love to do that. But I've always, pretty much as long as I've known you, I've been in awe of you and how accomplished you are as an artist. I don't know how much our viewers know. I mean, here's what's interesting. Anyone who's watching this right now who knows Amber probably is thinking, yes, that one thing that they know. And then there are like 7 other things. Like, oh yeah, Amber is very accomplished. She did, she worked, I mean, for years she was in national commercials and she did films. And then I could come to you and be like, she's also a Tony Award winner.
Not really. I mean, kind of on a technicality. But.
Technicality, but yes. She plays several instruments, has been an arts administrator as well as a leading actress. And so my point is the skills that you've honed over your life put you in a place where most people might get a sense of what many people call elitism. You're incredibly well educated. You are also like very well self-educated. You have that curious mind that like leads you to pursue knowledge.
It's called being autodidactic. And I looked that up because I was wondering what it meant when you like to be self-educated.
That's exactly it. And at the same time, I have never felt, I'm not going to say I've never felt intimidated by you. But I've never felt, I feel like whoever you are working with, you meet them at their level. You are very good at making people feel comfortable. So, and I think this probably also plays into the gender bias that we were talking about. But as an artist, how do you find yourself? Because you've been in rooms with everyone from Broadway people to the drama club of Goshen, Indiana. Nothing against the kids of Goshen, Indiana. You're very talented. I loved watching your content this summer. So how do you maneuver those different, taking your incredibly accomplished experience and translating that into several different situations that you've been in? I don't know if that was a clear question, but have fun with it.
I think it was. So first of all, I would not call my accomplishments like accomplishments. I would call them a broad experience range. And a lot of the things I do, like Like playing the violin, I think people think of that, like playing stringed instruments and stuff, they think of that as being a little bit elitist, but it's just what I'm interested in. So I think people have different interests. The easy answer to this is that I'm not special. I am an ordinary person. Now, I used to have this fear of being ordinary, which is probably what drove me to learn a lot of different skills. And like, I always wanted everybody to think I was special. I came from a small family. I've always been looking for that sense of family and sense of place. So I always wanted everybody to think, oh, there's that beautiful, accomplished, smart, talented girl. Like, that's what I wanted people to think when they saw me. And so I worked really hard at that as a kid, and I was terrified of being an ordinary person. And even into my 20s, just mortified. And that's like my primary fear. And I feel like getting down into like the distilled version of my personality, I thought that if I was just an ordinary person, that people wouldn't love me, that there wasn't anything about me as an ordinary person that was lovable. So what people liked about me was all of this stuff that I could do, right? And that's terrible. And it's not true. So I had to learn for myself that I wasn't unordinary, that I was an ordinary person. And the door that opens is that everybody is an ordinary person. So what I think my broad base of skills or my smarty know-it-all bossiness thing, the door that opens is that I can talk to a lot of different people about a lot of different stuff. But being a genuinely curious person, one of the things that people love in this world is when people ask them about the things that make them tick. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. People love talking about their own interests and love talking about themselves, which is why this is the best episode of Table Talk I've ever seen. But I always want to learn new things, and I'm curious. And most of the time that curiosity stems from how I can use those things to help other people. It's not just that I want to fill my head with stuff so that I have it and I just rattle around Goshen downtown, like spouting off facts like Wikipedia. It's all about trying to be a more valuable person. I understand those drives. I know that I don't need to do that in order to be loved by people, but it's still the drive that I have to be valuable by having some of these skills. And these are the things I'm interested in. The first time I ever saw someone play the violin, I was transfixed. The first time I ever saw a show, I was transfixed by that show. And those things never changed. Like the first time, I remember the first time I heard Music of the Night, I think I was like a child, and I remember crying, and I believe it was in a Walmart. And they had this panel that was like best of Broadway, and it was all these like different things. And the way that they would advertise CDs is they would have you like, you could hit the button of the CD, and one of them was Phantom of the Opera, and I hit it. And it was the last, I think, 32 of Music of the Night, and I just started like weeping. Like I remember having these experiences repeatedly of these characters who felt like I felt, who felt alienated, and who still like managed in their lives in a delightfully fictional way to tell these incredible stories. So all those interests are just interests. And like some of the stuff I do, I like doing because I'm not good at it. Like I said, failing is really important to me. Like I'll run the clumsiest 13-minute mile you've ever seen, but I still will run because I enjoy it. But yeah, the answer to your question, Paul, is you're wrong. I'm just an ordinary person. And I relate to everybody because they're also ordinary people. Now, sometimes I meet people who don't think they're ordinary, and I have to also pretend that they're not ordinary. And that's fine too. Like I'm meeting them where they are, but I have to remind myself that they just haven't processed to a point that they don't have to be something special in order for people to love them. But I try to give as much love as possible. I fail often, and that is the story of that. So yeah, I'm just a regular person, just like everybody. Like you're a regular person too. Even if you want to be super special, you are super special because every single person on this earth has a different journey, different interests, and different stuff that they want to do with their life. And you do you, and that makes you a part of the human race. And being connected to everybody by being ordinary is one of the most magical things that you can be. That is all.
I love that. What a great What a great way to round that out.
Oh, geez.
Well, this is unfortunately our season 1 finale
Yes.
for the Goshen Theater Drama Club Table Talks. We've had such an amazing time. I guess we'll just do some final thoughts for today. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to comment below on Facebook or on YouTube, wherever you're watching this. And start, if you have ideas, things that you'd like to see covered in season 2. We're already talking about episode ideas, so please send those our way. We'd be happy to include your ideas in our season selection. Final thoughts, Miss Katie.
I just appreciate you so much. I think what I love about Amber is that she, number one, is someone who self-evaluates, which is something everyone should do, not just for career, but just in life. Take time to really, yes, journal, do what you got to do. Yes. And she has learned to take care of herself and to just be unapologetically her. And she's a gracious human to the rest of us. So thank you, my friends.
I love that. Akira.
Yeah. I couldn't unmute myself. Well, I think the sentence you gave me, the I can be ordinary and I don't have to be super special to be loved, that's the sentence I think I needed, because I always think the same, like I have to be special to be valuable or loved or allow myself to exist in the world sometime even. So I'm just like, I can be ordinary and I can just be myself. That's the sentence I needed.
Akira, the thing that drove me to hire you the first time, obviously the first thing I saw was your gift and your sense of humor. Those were the first 2 things that were important to me. But the reason that I hired you, like I called a lot of people back, the reason I wanted you specifically was because when you came into the room, you were willing to relate to me in a very real way. And I knew that I could work with you in a long-term season. When I was hiring people, y'all, it was for 9 months at a time. And I take that seriously. 9 months at a time is an insanely long time. So if someone was going to be trapped in a barn with me for almost a year, I wanted to make sure that they had that. So know that I loved you then. I love you now. And you don't have to like do anything or be anything in order to earn that love. You just have it.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
I love you.
I love you. Katie, I love you too.
Get a little choked up. Miss Randa, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I think that, oh my God, I'm getting emotional. You reflect on like points in your life that like really shape who you are as a person. And I would not be here or in New York or on the tour of Fiddler on the Roof if you had not cast me in the Round Barn Theater season. I would not know any of you. And I think I just wanted to thank you for that. And I'm so sorry that I got so emotional. I was not expecting that.
No, it's my privilege. It's my privilege to be that person, like in your life, and to have supported you in any way. To be even like a little grain of rice in your success story is a huge honor to me. And that's the same for all of you. And like, think about the humans that exist, that like only exist because I cast someone in a show. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy, those connections. But like, yeah, no, I'm grateful to all of you for being a part of my life, but also grateful that you allow me into like a small piece of your love and your art, and that I'm allowed to be part of that for all of you is like a huge honor in my life. Like huge, huge, huge.
Is that your final thought? Would you like to add any more, or?
Don't be scared.
I love that. Well, this has been an incredible roller coaster of a season one, and what a season finale it was. I'm so grateful to have been part of this season and part of this episode and playing with y'all once a week.
I'm grateful to Molly and Katie for coming up with the idea, the seed of the idea for what the table talks have become, which was, hey, we want to do an audition talk, but we want to do it together. Like, that's how all of this started to sort of roll downhill. So I'm grateful to them, and 27 episodes, 27 hours later. Here we are.
More than that, because those early episodes, we were.
Yeah.
A little long.
That's all right.
Right. But we look forward to an equally exciting season 2 and maybe more exciting guests. We, as always, need to thank Goshen Noon Kiwanis for their support and sponsorship. We literally could not do this without you. You are amazing. Thank you so much. From me, Paul, your temporary host until the season 2 premiere, and all of us here at the Goshen Theater Drama Table Talks, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, whatever you do on the internet. It's all down below. Check it out. And we will see you in season 2. What a great sign off. A great way to end the episode. Bye-bye.